Here is the third and final section of our book, Brothers in Hope, about the lost boys of Sudan. We rejoined the other groups of boys on the road to Kenya. Some parts of the road were well cleared and marked. Others were not. We made sure to keep the trail well marked for the groups behind us. Many weeks later, we made it to a refugee camp in Kenya called Kakuma. There were thousands of people in this camp, but I was determined to find Chuti. I asked boys from the other groups if they had seen him. One of the leaders told me Tom was taking care of him. Someone showed me to Tom's house, and there I found Chuti eating candy and drawing a picture. When he saw me, he ran to me and jumped into my arms. I thanked Tom for taking such good care of Chuti. Then Tom said he needed my help. Although you are safe for now, my work is not done, Tom explained. The war in Sudan is not over, and you and your brothers need to find a place to call home. But what can I do? I asked. You must tell me your story. What has happened to you since war came to your country? Tom said. Your story can help prevent war from creating more lost children, and you can help find a home for yourself and your brothers. Your words will move caring people to help. So I shared my story with Tom. I talked all day and all night. Then we cried and prayed. After telling my story, the storm of war no longer seemed as scary. The thunder was not as loud. A few days after our talk, Tom left the camp. Without Tom around, things began to change. Life in Kenya became very hard. There was not enough food. People were often sick and many died. Some boys in my group became so weak from hunger that they could no longer attend school. Then we thought of a way for everyone to get food and education. We took turns foraging for food and going to school. At night, the ones who foraged would share their food, and the ones who went to school would share their lessons. This way, we were able to feed our bodies and our minds. As I grew older, I tried to improve conditions in the camp. I helped form a drama club and a soccer league so we could have fun things to do. I became a health educator. I taught boys to boil dirty water before drinking it, and other ways to prevent sickness. Chuti was growing older too. I continued to care for him, and he helped me in my work. He was a very smart boy who often tutored other boys in math and English. I became a young man with responsibilities, which made me feel good. But despite my best efforts, life continued to be a daily struggle for survival. I often worried about my future and Chuti's. I was 21 years old when Tom returned to Kakuma. When I went out to greet him, I almost did not recognize him. His hair had turned gray. I hugged him very hard. You have changed, Tom, I said. Tom laughed. Yes, I am now an old man, and you are a young man. Where have you been, Tom? Did you forget about us? I asked. I did not forget you, Garang, Tom said. Your words have been with me, and I have been sharing them with people in many countries. Now the United States is offering you and your brothers a home. Tom called a meeting and told us about the United States. He said there would be people coming to teach us about this country in preparation for our journey. I remembered our teachers in Ethiopia telling us that the United States was very far away and life there was very different. I was happy to hear that my brothers and I would have a new place to live, but I was also very afraid. I wondered if people in America would accept me, a lost boy with nothing but a few tattered school books. I thought it might be better to stay in Kakuma. I went to the forest to be alone and to think about all the things Tom had told us. I also remembered my father's words, "Your heart and mind are strong. There is nothing you cannot do." When I first heard those words, I did not understand them. Now I knew them to be true. My heart was strong with faith and the love of my brothers, and my mind was filled with wisdom for books and the many changes in my life. I was no longer afraid. I would find the strength to make a new life. I would find a new future. And that is the end. And I'll just read you the afterword. This is a map of Africa, first of all, and you can see that the Sudan and Ethiopia and Kenya are all in that part of Africa, in northeastern Africa. But the afterword says that the Lost Boys' journey took them on a dangerous path across deserts, over mountains, and through rivers. Thousands of the original boys died from the violence, starvation, and diseases they encountered. For others, the journey continued to refugee camps where they lived for years in severe conditions, often existing on one meal a day or less. In the year 2000, so that's 20 years ago now, the United States began its resettlement of approximately 3,800 lost boys. These young men, in their early and late 20s, started their lives anew in cities across the United States, from Atlanta, Georgia, to Fargo, North Dakota, and beyond. Before moving to the United States, many of them had never encountered conveniences such as running water, electricity, cars, and modern food preparation. American volunteers helped the Lost Boys in the difficult process of adjusting to their new surroundings and learning the basics of life in a developed country. Although some of the young men have made tremendous strides in their first few years in the United States, cultural adjustment continues to be a challenge. Several communities of Lost Boys do not benefit from the resources and emotional support of committed volunteers. As a result, some of the young men are finding it difficult to reach their full potential. They struggle to fit in with their American peers, to find a gainful employment, or to access psychological and medical care. Perhaps most frustrating, many of the Lost Boys have had a difficult time accessing and financing, that means paying for, educational opportunities they see as vital to their future and the future of their people. But despite the numerous challenges they face in the United States, the Lost Boys hold on tightly to their faith and their belief that through education and determination, they will one day help bring peace and renewal to their war-torn homeland. So that book is about true things that have happened. And that's the end.